Let's reinforce this concept with an exercise. Plan to spend about 20 minutes completing this exercise. Poor relations between dev and ops can lead to a downward spiral. What would each function experience as a result of this? Try and think of at least 5 effects that dev would see and 5 effects that ops would see. For example, ops might see lots of firefighting and unplanned work, and dev might see a backlog of deployments. Conflict between dev and ops can ultimately lead to fragile applications. These are defined as applications that fail catastrophically when changed, leading to unplanned outages and unplanned work. Ops might blame dev, and dev might blame ops. The business won't care whose fault it is. IT is a business unit that will always be held accountable for its end-to-end results. These tensions can be increased in a modern organization where teams are not co-located. If dev and ops are, for example, in different countries or offices, communication becomes even harder. Let's finish this lesson by looking in more detail at some stereotypes in dev and ops, the perception and the reality. On this screen, you can see some typical stereotypes. Have you experienced any of these? Have you applied them to someone else, or have they been applied to you? As you probably know, these stereotypes are very far from reality. Both dev and ops are improving the quality of their work and the velocity of their work in response to changing business needs. Think about recent developments, like those you can see on screen. However, dev and ops aren't always working together on these initiatives. For the business to see true value, dev and ops must work together and cross-pollinate their practices, methods, and tools. Improvement in isolation can only ever deliver limited benefit. Click on the red terms to learn more about them if you've not heard these before. What does infrastructure as code mean? This refers to a way of working that treats the configuration of systems or infrastructure in the same way as software code is treated. Software project techniques can be used, for example, to build and maintain a server environment. Scripts are used to build infrastructure rather than manual tasks, speeding up the process and removing errors. Scripts can be used to create and provision a new image, or a set of images. This can include tasks from setting up the operating system right through to installing and configuring the complete application stack. This is being made simpler by modern configuration management tools. What does configuration management mean? Here, we are referring to software configuration management tools that are used to standardize resource configurations and enforce their state across the IT infrastructure. This term should not be confused with the service management term of a configuration management system, or CMS. Here, we are referring specifically to configuration management tools used within software development. What does self-healing mean? Self-healing refers to systems that are capable of automatically discovering and correcting faults without human intervention. Some organizations have adopted a concept called bimodal IT to try and fit their IT capabilities to their requirements. This involves adopting 2 separate IT methodologies in the same organization, sometimes using separate teams. You can see some examples of Mode 1 and Mode 2 here on screen. Bimodal is controversial and seen as counterproductive by some IT industry thought leaders. This is an area where you might like to do some more research. Here's a final quote to put this into perspective. According to Forrester Research, without good interpersonal harmony, your business cannot adapt to changes in the competitive landscape. If our resources spend all their time arguing with each other, there is very little time for innovation or improvement. Before we wrap up, here's a quick quiz to test what you've learned. When you finish the quiz, click on the Next button to reach the end of the lesson. You've completed Lesson 1. Why DevOps? We've studied the business perspective, the IT perspective, common stereotypes. Before you move on to Lesson 2, download the study guide for this lesson from your Documents area. Make sure you complete the exercises and review the solution in the Exercise Solutions document.